Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, unless you've been hiding under a rock and never turned on the news or TV or the radio yesterday, there was a fight, some are calling it a brawl, on a Carnival ship. The Carnival Magic was making its way back to New York for its final stop to disembark passengers when around 5:20 a.m. in the morning, a fight broke out. They're saying it's in the dance hall on the dance floor. It started between a shoving match between two people and eventually escalated into 40 to 60 participants. Now, what I'm looking at from some of the quick snapshots that are out there, I can't show them. They're copyright. They're from news media. It looks an awful lot like there was probably about 10 to 15 people involved, and the others were trying to untangle them from the fight. It does not look like there was a 60-person brawl on the ship. Security was called. Security broke everything up, separated all the passengers. And in the morning, as the ship docked, police were standing on the dock waiting for the cruise ship to arrive. They boarded the ship and interviewed the suspects as well as witnesses to the event as well. I mean, if you see some of the pictures in the news media, there were chairs being thrown. It was pretty much a brawl and a wild scene. And it's just... It really does not do much for Carnival's reputation as that party cruise ship and that, you know what I mean? Like everyone, they're trying to get into the Mardi Gras and the 2.0 and the fun ships. And the last brawl that we heard about was just before the pandemic, that brawl on the Carnival Legend, where that family got involved and started fighting on the cruise ships and were kicked off the ship. Now we have a brawl in the public media. And if you look at the news media today, if you search on Google, for instance, cruise news, cruise ship news, all you're going to get is story after story after story about the brawl on the Carnival Magic. Again, doesn't do a whole lot of good for the reputation of Carnival. As I said, they keep reporting 40 to 60 people involved in a brawl. It looks like a lot of those people were just trying to break the fight up. But I wasn't there. Maybe there was 60 people in that brawl, but the pictures don't demonstrate that yet. Maybe we'll see some video. I don't know anybody nowadays who doesn't pull out their phone in a brawl on a cruise ship and start recording. So I imagine some of those videos will pop up soon now that people have gotten off the ship. No word yet from the New York Police Department who's going to be handling the investigation. Will there be charges laid against people? Will people be banned from Carnival from ever cruising again? We don't know. Again, not a lot good happens at 5:20 in the morning. I think people were basically down there to have some breakfast, maybe? I don't know. Where they're fighting looks like there's a bunch of tables there, more than there was, say, a dance floor, but we have limited information right now. We also have a story coming from Royal Caribbean about testing and vaccines from the CEO. But before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you want to be kept up to date with all things cruising, from stories like this to explanations, to cruise vlogs, to destinations and new ships opening up like the Celebrity Beyond, which I'll be on in less than 2 weeks now, as well as any cruising tips I can parlay from my 115 cruises I've been on now that might save you a little bit of money and an awful lot of worry when you're booking your next cruise. And again, I'd really appreciate it. It really does help the channel out, and it doesn't cost a thing. Okay, Michael Bailey was recently on a President's Cruise where people were allowed to ask questions, and of course, vaccines came up and testing requirements came up. And Michael Bailey did share some very interesting statistics that I wasn't aware of until I read his statements. And one of them was, so first off, let's talk about the testing requirements. He thinks that the testing requirements will be gone within the next couple of months. He sees that the industry is changing, the country is changing, the world is changing. More and more people are starting to ease restrictions, and he thinks the testing requirements will be the next to go for a great majority of things out there, including the cruise ships. Because you don't need to test to fly anymore. He thinks cruise ships should be within the next couple of months. That doesn't help a lot of people who are hoping it's going to be before the summer, but at least he says there's a glimmer of hope in the future. He says, however, vaccines, he thinks, will not be ending anytime soon. Because of the great response that the COVID protocols and having mostly vaccinated passengers, even though people catch COVID on the cruise ships, they haven't been dangerous to people. It's been more of an inconvenience than an actual life-threatening event. So he says the cruise lines have been really good at mitigating this, and the CDC has noted this prominently in their reports lately on the cruise ship industry, as they've been monitoring protocols and the testing, and they're thinking on changing that testing policy, etc. And it's really the CDC, even though it's pronounced voluntary, right? The cruise lines don't want to upset the CDC because the CDC still has the power to just shut them down. So as long as they're seen as cooperating with the CDC as much as possible and still able to set sail and have people on their ships, which right now, there's a ton of people looking to sail. The bookings are through the roof right now as people have pent-up demand. They just want to go on vacation and they want to get back to cruising. And they feel maybe even cruising might be even safer than some other destinations, or it's just their favorite form of vacation. So he thinks that the testing might disappear within the next couple of months, but the vaccines will probably be here for a little bit longer. He doesn't see those ending anytime soon. In fact, he says there's not even really a discussion about it happening right now. And another reason that he's saying this is he announced some figures that I wasn't aware of. I had a suspicion, but he actually stated that the CDC has recently shared information with him on the millions of passengers who have now sailed since the restart in cruising, the number of fatalities caused by COVID caught on a cruise ship. How many do you think? Maybe 1,000? Maybe 2,000? How about 2? 2 people out of the millions who have now sailed since the restart last June. Those are pretty phenomenal numbers when you consider how many, if you're in your own neighborhood and you're hearing reports on the news every morning about your state or your province, how many fatalities have been happening. Well, here in Ontario, we have a population of around 9 to 10 million here, and they're announcing 20 to 50 fatalities every week. So to think that out of the millions in cruising, only 2, they say that just kind of proves that their protocols are working, and if they're not suffering financially, why would you change them other than to start making things a little easier for people to cruise? Like the masking policy is removed on most cruise lines, especially Royal Caribbean. They don't have a masking policy right now. However, other lines right now have masks in Alaska, for example. My celebrity cruise, I just read that I have to wear a mask in the theater and the casino. So there is still masking going on. There's still testing going on. There's still the vaccine mandate to be able to cruise for the majority of people. But some things are easing. And Michael Bailey spread that word out, saying that at least in the near future, the first thing to go, he thinks, will be testing. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel blogs from around the world? hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.